Hey everyone, hope you're having a nice weekend so far. A little windy out over here in Berkeley. Look, thanks for letting me come into your house again. And this is my house. We call it Mortensen. We named our house. Today's mini lesson shifts us a little bit. We've been looking at nonfiction for the past couple weeks, and I'm hoping that you have found a couple titles that you've really enjoyed, either because of the subject matter or because of the way that it's written. Some of my favorite published nonfiction include this series. It's called The History of Us by Joy Hakim, and what I really like about it is that it talks about history as if it were a story, which I know Mr. Maxfield does a lot. But this is actually like, kind of like a textbook that is written as a story. And so each section is really riveting, actually, when I read it. So you might want to check that out. Joy Hakim, A History of Us. It's a whole 10-book series on American history. And another one, the one that I've been reading, is An American Plague. And again, I really like this one because of how it's written in a narrative style. So it's nonfiction, but it's got that story element to it. So it's really kind of captured me. And I'm hoping that you've come across some nonfiction books that you've loved as you're reading. I know a couple people have read about polio and plagues and diseases, plagues and epidemics. Those have been some of the big topics that I've seen that people are really riveted and kind of stuck on. So this next week, we're going to shift over into writing, back into writing. It's been a while. So we're going to look at our own informational writing, and by the end of this writing part, we're kind of going to go back and forth between writing and reading because they're really intertwined, and you need to look at some mentor texts before you write your own. We're not going to be writing books, obviously. We don't have the time to do that, but we do have a lot of time in class to work on writing about something that you know a lot about. So if you think back to when we had our mini lessons about writing, we had, first we were kind of figuring out what we would write about, then we were trying some topics on. We may have narrowed it down to a topic, and then we might have even started to think about what form is my writing going to take. And if you recall, for mine, I was thinking that I was going to do either a blog or like a blog or maybe like a pamphlet that I could give out to people, or something like something like that. I'm thinking more the electronic route. I don't know. I'm just hooked on that. And I'm also thinking that whatever you decide to make your, whether it's a book, some of you thought of the ABCs of whatever. If it's an ABC book, or if it's which I think is doable, that kind of a book, or if it's a blog that you're thinking of, or a website, or I'm calling it like article or an essay. An article, really, because it's an information piece about your topic. Whatever you decide, we're going to scan it, or if it's electronic, we'll link it to a classroom digital library of all of our information writing. And then I have teacher friends in the district and also out in the world of Twitter that we can send it to, and maybe have a wider audience with their students and them, and so we'll get kind of a wider audience. So that's, I think, exciting. So we'll compile those and share those at the end of this writing. I haven't set a due date because I really want to see how much time you need in your writing. So we're working towards this. Maybe by the end of March. I think that would be my rough deadline for you. Okay, so today's teaching point is that information writers gather the information that will fill up the pages of their books or blogs or articles, and along the way they make decisions about how much and what kind of research to conduct. They collect these ideas in notebooks, taking care to collect a variety of information and information from more than one source. So different types of information and from more than one place, so you can kind of cross-check. And I say a notebook, I know a lot of you like to use your phone or electronic device to write on, and that's fine. I think as long as you're able to access the information easily, and then there's a way for you to transfer what's on here to something that we can then publish. You know, either in a Word document or in Google, or however you want to do it is whatever you're comfortable with is fine. But there has to be a way for you to get to that information, because I don't want you to. We don't have the time for you to like retype something that you've already typed or swiped. So keep that in mind if you're not using a notebook. All right, so in looking at my table of contents, I went back to it. That's where I started, because I really liked the table of contents that I came up with. That was the strategy we used for how to organize it. And when I looked at my table of contents, I thought about, this is where the deciding, making decisions of how much and what kind. I don't want to do a lot of research on this. You know, I play the game, Civilization Revolution. I know it. I'm not that much of an expert on it, but I know it enough to like write about it. So I was thinking, what kind of things do I need to fill in the holes? My chapter 1 is why you should play, and I feel like that's kind of my opinion, and I might be able to find something online with that, as far as what, you know, reviews of the game or that kind of thing. Chapter 2 is all about all the different civilizations that you can be. So I'm thinking I need to take photos. There's this, when you're selecting them, there's a screen that shows all of their strengths that they get throughout the eras. And so I want to take a photo of that, because that's kind of the point of why I wanted to write this, is that it was going to be a guide for me when I play it. While I'm playing, I always forget, you know, what is coming? Should I build a city by a mountain, because am I going to get more production at mountain squares, or what for this civilization? I can't keep it straight. So I'm going to need photos, which isn't really research, but it's, you know, legwork. And then chapter 3 is how to win each type of victory. So I'm not really skilled in that. I mean, I win, but I'm not, like my husband plays on the deity level, and I only play, you know, on one of the lower levels, king, or chieftain's the lowest. I'm above that. But, you know, do I want to maybe interview him, or look online for a forum or a site that has people who play, who are giving strategies for winning, and then maybe harness what other people have said and then use that and cite that information as these people say this is a way to win a culture victory or a technology victory. Chapter 4, same thing, strategies for building the cities and the civilizations. I think I have some strategies, so I could fill that in, but I might need to do some research a little bit. In chapter 5, I don't know anything about the creator, Sid Meier. So I'm going to have to do, I think that's where the bulk of my research is going to be. I can fill in the holes of the other pieces, or the other chapters, but I feel like that one is where I don't know anything about him, who he is, what he looks like, where he's from, how old is he, you know, does he have other games, that kind of thing. Chapter 6, I'm thinking, I think I have a lot here, and so I'm thinking I'm gonna I might scrap chapter 6. So there's another decision I'm making, right? So I have primary sources where, you know, I'm playing the game, and so I'm a source. I might interview somebody, my husband, that's a source, that's a primary source, because you're getting the information. Getting photos of each, those photos will go in the book, much like some of the, you know, the nonfiction you're reading, there's photos right from the time period or whatever, so that's, I feel like, a primary source. And And then I have secondary sources where I'm going to actually do research. I wanted to show you a little bit about two things: how I plan to do my research, how I might use some of the sources that are out there that you might be able to use. And then I'm thinking when I take notes, I might use the boxes and bullets format for, I'm going to split it up into sections, my chapters. And so I might use a page per chapter to take my notes on. And the other thing you have to keep in mind, and I have to keep in mind when I'm doing my research, is that I'm going to have to cite these somehow on my on my blog on my blog. And so either by linking it or formally citing it, to give the people that I'm using their information credit, because I don't want to plagiarize. That's like a big, huge thing that I don't want to do. So I'm thinking I need to somehow keep track of all the sites that I'm looking at, because you don't always pull from what you're looking at. But when I'm really writing stuff down and taking notes on it with the boxes and bullets, then I'm going to have to somehow keep track of at least the URL of the website so I can get back to it, so I don't lose where I got it from. I wanted to show you, so I found the Civilization website, which is pretty awesome, and I was looking at that a little bit last night. So on here they have screenshots and all about the civilizations, like the actual people, like the leaders that you are when you're playing the game. So it was a wealth of information, maybe too much information really. I'm not going to use all this, maybe in my future times. But one thing that was cool on here, they had a thing called forums, so I clicked on it, and what was brought up was this 2K Games forum, which probably some of you know what this is, but I didn't know what this is. And on here, there's just people who post questions, and then other people answer. So, is it an expert? I mean, I don't know. I don't know these people, but I feel like they play the game a lot more than I do. And so, and it's also all of his games. So as I was looking last night, I had to kind of sort through some of the stuff. So I feel like that might be a cool place to at least get some information. I feel like I'm going to have to really do the more than one source, make sure more than one person is saying the same thing, or they have like a rating system sometimes. So maybe I'll see, do other people think this information is valid? Since I'm not that much of an expert, I'll have to check that. So make sure you're kind of, keeping that in mind. Anyone can be on the internet and write something. Another place I looked that I want to share with you is Wikipedia. Now, Wikipedia gets a bad rap because anybody can edit Wikipedia. Anybody. You, me, anybody. And so I was looking up Sid Meier on here because the website had a little bit about him, but not really. So I felt like Wikipedia is a pretty good place to go when you just want a general clue about what something is or who somebody is. So I put in Sid Meier's name, figured out how to spell it. Here he is, right here, and it comes up with information. But what's also cool about Wikipedia is sometimes at the bottom, a lot of times, they have a section called References and a section called External Links. And I feel like these are like these people who have updated this page have done some of my legwork as a researcher already. So I can go to the references, and they're oftentimes their websites where they pulled information, kind of like what I'm going to do, right? So I'm thinking I might have to have a references part of my blog, maybe even an external link part of my blog. Use some of these. Use this Wikipedia page. And so I'm thinking this is going to be it's directing me really in a right spot for this, for what I'm trying to do. And it takes out a lot of the time of me searching and finding. So Wikipedia has some good qualities to it. And then the one last thing I wanted to show you is I use my Google Reader, which I know all of you have set up a Google Reader through your school email. and I typed in civilization revolution. When you go to the browse for stuff, and remember how we were searching for different things, so in the search tab, I just typed that in, and then up came a whole bunch of blogs. Now, the thing with this that you have to kind of be careful with, you might look at how many people have subscribed, because the more people have subscribed to it, I feel like, the more it's a reputable source, because a lot of people are following it and looking at it. And then the other thing I found with this is that the date, I have to look at the date, because a lot of these are from 2008, which, you know, is 4 years ago. So I need to, you know, is it really, I guess the game is pretty old, is fairly old, so maybe that right when it came out there was a jolt of people writing about it. So I'm going to have to do some, you know, figuring out of which source I think I need, and then the other thing is like, way leads on to way, right, as the poem by Robert Frost goes, and the internet is totally like that, where you go click here, click here, click here, and I'm going to have to remember, I'm going to have to be focused, you know, because we don't have a lot of time. So what are my chapters, what information do I want, and really kind of have to bring myself back to figuring out what information is it that I need. So, in summary, we're going to move into writing all this week, back into writing. There'll still be time for reading, and I want to fit in read aloud. So I'm thinking there might be a couple days where there's more of these flipped lessons for you to do at home, so that we can pack in a lot at school. This weekend, I'd like you to spend some time deciding how much and what kind of research you need to do. You know, maybe I don't know that I want to say you don't want to do any research, because I feel like at least searching a little bit and seeing, oh yeah, I'm good. I know, I do know this. I am pretty much an expert on this. So I want you to do a little bit of research, but if that's the case, if you are setting out to write something and you feel like you've got it, then I don't, this writing isn't about research, it's about you sharing what you know. But I feel like don't not do the research because you're lazy or don't want to do it, because you might find something that's really interesting that you want to put in, or you have a hole, like some of you are doing in third hour, the ABC books, and so they think about, you know, maybe there's a letter, Z, Y, X, that you can't think of, so you have to be creative, and maybe you find something to fill that gap on the internet. So our research is really for filling gaps. So how much, what kind of research? Think about that this weekend. And then another thing I'd like you to try to do this weekend is I've set up an Edmodo page, which is, I think most of you know what Edmodo is. I didn't know what Edmodo was. So if you go to Oakview's home page, and if you go to students, and if you scroll down to Edmodo, it's a link, then you can, well, I'm gonna do it because I don't even know what you do then. You can, well, I guess I won't because of time. So you'll be able to enroll for my language arts Edmodo, and I put all of my language arts students all on the same Edmodo, so it's not split up by class, it's everyone, because I feel like that would be cool for us to collaborate across classes. So the Edmodo code that you need to join my ELA section is JJGH CQ. JJGHCQ. Not two C's, just one. And so if you have time, if you're tech savvy, as they say, I want you to get on there, and I want you to maybe post something about what your topic is, what you think about the research that you're going to do, and then we can kind of give feedback to each other on Edmodo. So try those two things. Spend some time thinking about how much and what kind of research you want to do, and hop on Edmodo to post about that so that we can collectively help each other with that. All right, hope you guys have a great weekend.